We are going to lighten it up with the movie critic, the movie reviewer, the culture blaster. He comes and goes on a rainbow. It's Michael Snyder, everybody. Welcome aboard, Michael Snyder. Hey.
Kim, nice to have you on board. At first, I thought, Mark looks awfully purdy today, but then I realized it was you.
Anyway, thanks, Michael Snyder. Welcome. You're very welcome now that you said that.
Thank you. Last night I enjoyed a steaming cup of that Coachella Valley mushroom coffee paired with a mushroom pizza. And I just want to say how surprised I was that there were no chunks of mushroom in my coffee. I mean, I love mushrooms.
No. And now you're feeling mentally clear, right? The clarity blend.
To an extent, to that end, I wanted to honor Linda McMahon, and I put AI sauce on my mushrooms. Anyway, we don't want to plug A1 sauce, so we had to kind of change the name. Look, in famous obituary news, it is interesting to note that Hulk Hogan did not die of racism. Are you aware of that?
No, it was a heart attack. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that proposed renaming of Birmingham, England's airport, if where Ozzy Osbourne happens, I have heard that they would subsequently allow bats to use the runways. That might be true, maybe not. I don't know.
Nice, very nice. Thank you.
So, I want to prepare yourselves for a deep dive. I am a longtime comic book fan, and the big movie that's opening this week is, in fact, the Fantastic Four First Steps. And as the true first family of Marvel Comics, the Fantastic Four were created by Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby. And Kirby was very pivotal in the creation of the Fantastic Four. And this was before any X-Men or Avengers reached the comic book racks. And their Fantastic Four comic book, the very first one, was published in August 1961, a year before Spider-Man first appeared. And like Spider-Man and the X-Men, the Fantastic Four was initially acquired as a film property by a major motion picture studio, 20th Century Fox, before Marvel founded their own studio. And eventually 20th Century, which made, by the way, 3 Fantastic Four movies of questionable quality, was acquired by Disney, which distributes the interconnected Marvel superhero movies. And now they can kind of bring the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But, and this is significant, the powers that be wisely decided to introduce this new iteration of the group via a standalone movie, The Fantastic Four First Steps, and set it in the era when the foursome was first introduced, the early 1960s. And set, by the way, in a dazzling retro-futurist version of New York City that seems to exist in one of those alternate or other dimensional universes that science fiction and comics suggests is similar to our own, but different in certain significant ways. And this is important because even though the plan is to bring this Fantastic Four into Marvel's larger saga, you do not need to know anything about them beforehand or need to have seen any other movies to understand this one, which is kind of cool, right? I mean, you're not that familiar with comic books and such.
I would benefit from this, yes.
So, yeah. I mean, it seems sometimes that superhero fatigue might be a function of all the quote-unquote homework you have to do to watch these Marvel movies to have had kind of a connection or an emotional resonance with the characters. One reason Thunderbolts was so emotionally satisfying is I was kind of familiar with the characters and their story journeys over the past few films or TV shows. But like the new Superman movie, which is, of course, a DC Comics joint, Fantastic Four First Steps begins in medias res. In other words, action is already happening. And the four heroes, scientist and elastic-bodied Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, his wife, the light-bending and blasting Sue Storm, a.k.a. Invisible Woman, her flaming, fire-wielding, flying brother, Johnny Storm, a.k.a. the Human Torch, and that giant orange rock-skinned powerhouse of a best friend, Ben Grimm, aka the Thing, have already been Earth's foremost heroes for 4 years since the quartet's pioneering spaceflight was bombarded by cosmic rays, mutating them into these freakish do-gooders who are the only bona fide superheroes around. So, using the device of a TV special hosted by kind of an Ed Sullivan type to honor them, the movie is able to briefly and efficiently tell their origin and show how popular they are, and then get right down to business with them. And when I say popular, I mean rock star popular. In fact, in a cool real world Easter egg of sorts, the stage set where they're introduced on TV harkens back to the one where the Beatles played during their historic Ed Sullivan Show appearance. So that was kind of a visual treat to see that. Yeah. Okay, so
it looks like in the picture, even the vehicle that they have, it looks kind of 50s.
It is so cool in that regard. But crucial to the success of this film is the casting, and it is the best casting of the Fantastic Four to date, with Pedro Pascal, who, of course, is everywhere. He was just in Eddington last week, but he is wonderful as the conflicted Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as wife Sue, Joseph Quinn, who you may know from Stranger Things, plays Johnny, and Eben Moss Bachrach plays Ben, whose CGI presence is never less than human. And the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing, which is one of the ways he introduces himself in the comics, is fully alive in First Steps, thanks to this CGI thing. And by the way, Ben Grimm was the first acknowledged superhero in comic books, and first acknowledged Jewish superhero. And he's certainly the first significant one. And Moss Bachrach, who everybody loves as Cousin Richie in The Bear, is the first Jewish actor to play him. And there's even a little scene in the Lower Manhattan synagogue with Poker Face star Natasha Lyonne as a possible love interest for the big guy. Kim, the technology used to make First Steps is so superior to what was used in the earlier Fantastic Four movies that they can deliver a reasonably realistic or comic book accurate version of the characters and their powers. And the mid-century modern aesthetic that you pointed to regarding the look of that fantastic car is gloriously rendered. It's business as usual for the group when you meet them until the revelation that Sue is pregnant with Reed's baby, and what should be originally a cause for joy becomes a major issue that jeopardizes humanity and the Four's popularity, courtesy of the planet-devouring, skyscraper-sized threat Galactus, played by Ralph Ineson, and his sleek space-riding Herald the Silver Surfer, played by Julia Garner, from she was in The Americans, and she's been in a bunch of things. She's a very talented actress, and they're the main threat. Although you hear about earlier super menaces, and some of them get brief but effective screen time, the movie has such memorable and fine-tuned world building. This was directed with love and care by Matt Shakman, who did the Marvel TV show WandaVision, which earned a lot of kudos. And composer Michael Giacchino powers this with one of his most stirring scores. I want to wrap up by saying that I am loath to compare and contrast this latest Marvel entry in the superhero movie wars with Superman, which is comic book rival DC's latest. But as much fun and as well cast as Superman is, I think the Fantastic Four First Steps has as much, if not more, chemistry between its stars, is less cluttered with extraneous characters, delivers its backstory in a more artful way, and is more emotionally satisfying and amusing, even if the climax feels a little familiar. It is the best Fantastic Four film to date, and cleverly sets up the quartet to eventually be part of Marvel's grand saga, and it is in theaters.
I think it's going to have a big showing. I was reading that in Thursday previews, they already brought in a boatload of cash. They're thinking more than $100 million for the opening weekend.
I would be pleased because, again, visually, this is such a treat, and it's fun to just spend time with them as a kind of superpowered sitcom family for the first half of the film. They're charming, and boy, the chemistry's great. Okay, shall we move on? Let us move on.
Let's go.
Okay, a delightfully twisted anti-rom-com with a great cast and a bad attitude. Oh Hi stars the often winsome, sometimes snarky, and occasionally weird actress Molly Gordon of TV's The Bear. Hey, we have another Bear callback. She's Carmi's sort of estranged girlfriend from their youth. And Gordon has also been in the movies Booksmart and Theater Camp, which she, I think, co-wrote and co-directed. She also co-wrote the story in Oh Hi with the movie's screenwriter and director Sophie Brooks. And Gordon is so heartbreakingly good and appealing on The Bear that it's a little startling when her initially adorable Oh Hi character goes off the rails fairly early in the movie. Why? How? Gordon is Iris, a modern young woman from the big city, and she is off on her first getaway weekend to a lakeside B&B in the sticks with her new boyfriend, Isaac, well played by Logan Lerman. They have really good chemistry, but it quickly becomes apparent that they have different expectations about the relationship, which sets off the Iris character and sets some really funny craziness in motion and leads to what I'd call it an intervention by two friends who show up in the middle of the madness. Geraldine Viswanathan and John Reynolds add to the dark comedy as the interceding friends. And it's kind of a bonus getting comedic actors that are the caliber of David Cross and Desmond Borges in small but pungent parts. Brooks keeps the interpersonal conflicts tilting from one extreme to another, and Oh Hi is much more of a delightful dip into dysfunction than its title would suggest. It is in select theaters. I think it's going to play well there, but I also think it's going to play well when you can get to stream it. And I like this kind of dark comedy, Kim.
Yeah, it sounds like something I'd like as well. I'm interested. You've piqued my interest. What else you got?
Okay. Here's one that you're not going to be interested in, unless you want to kind of have some fitful laughs. Trying for an Ari Aster elevated horror light vibe. And Ari Aster is the guy who did Eddington, but he started his career doing those incredibly chilling horror films, Hereditary and Midsummer. But The Home definitely has some moments, and quite a few of them are eye-rolling. It's a horror movie.
Yeah, the poster with the eyeball freaks me out. I don't even like looking at it.
That's why people should be looking at the YouTube stream instead of listening to the podcast.
Gross.
Anyway, okay. So this is a horror movie about a former foster kid turned disaffected graffiti artist, played by ex-Saturday Night Live slacker icon Pete Davidson. And his character gets picked up by the cops for trespassing and defacing a building. Rather than a jail sentence, he gets a chance to earn time served by working as a janitor at a retirement home. Now, from what we know about the hedonistic Davidson, this is truly a horror movie for him. A party-hardy lunatic stuck cleaning up in a facility filled with old people. Some holding the line, but some in pretty frightening condition. And Kim, there's not a Kardashian in sight. It's truly horror for Pete Davidson. Anyway, you get a few good veteran actors here. John Glover, Bruce Altman, Ethan Phillips, and Jessica Hecht are the most prominent.
Okay.
And then there's Pete, who can actually shine if given the right script for his limited skill set, that being, his jerk character, Chad from SNL. But there is not a lot of help from director and co-screenwriter James DeMonico. The scenes are no big whoop, scary at times. There are the jump scares. But a major twist feels like it might have worked considerably better with a more relatable and likable lead. For all of the goo and the gore that drips here and there, this doesn't really cut it. The Home is not so much a B movie as, a C- movie. And if Davidson's presence was an indication that this was meant as a horror comedy, someone must have murdered the laughs off screen. If you haven't figured it out yet, this Home is not where my heart is, but it is in select theaters.
I love that review. And I don't even know if I want the next review. This movie is called what? Ick?
Ick. Oh, yeah, you're looking at the list, Kim. Oh, you're doing
I'm sorry.
thing. Okay, so wait. Now, Ick is an unabashed horror sci-fi comedy with no apologies for how broad it's played, and I laughed. It features a smart script with timely references that veer into, sly social satire
Hmm.
in the spirit of The Blob and James Gunn's first major film, Slither. It concerns an otherworldly, moldy, vine-like plant that has slowly taken over the suburban town of Eastbrook. The character of Hank is a former Eastbrook High School football hero whose college career and romance with cheerleader Stacy were derailed by an on-field, let's call it an ick-induced injury,
Mm.
leading him to eventually become a science teacher at his old alma mater. And only he and his snarky student Grace, who happens to be Stacy's daughter, seem concerned as the omnipresent ick, always taken for granted by the townspeople, starts to become more virulent and invasive. So, like most of the locals, Stacy and her husband are blissfully going through life unaware of the danger posed by the ick. In fact, no one has any intention of canceling the school prom, even as the ick gets ickier. Anyway,
Yeah.
Joseph Kahn cheerfully directs the screenplay that he co-authored with his tongue firmly in cheek, and his cast, led by the very ingratiating Brandon Ruth, from superhero callbacks, Superman Lives, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow. He was a Superman on the big screen, Brandon Ruth. Here he plays hapless but noble Hank, and Mina Suvari, American Beauty's teen dream, all grown up, plays Stacy, and they deliver the silly goods. Plus, Melina Pauly Weissman is quite self-composed as the pivotal character of Grace. And for good measure, you get Deborah Wilson and Jeff Fahey hamming it up. If nothing else, Ick is an entertaining time at the movies when smiles and escapism are in short supply. It's a trifle, but as snacks go, it's pretty toothsome, I think. And it is
Okay.
in select theaters. And I can't imagine it won't be super fun to watch at home, too.
Awesome. That's ick. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, let's do some quickies really quick.
Okay.
Four Letters of Love isn't bad. It's kind of a romantic drama, and it stars some UK giants of the silver screen and the small screen. Pierce Brosnan, currently on a roll with Mobland and The Last Rifleman and Black
Mhm.
Bag. Helena Bonham Carter and Gabriel Byrne, but it is ultimately a somewhat hokey Irish romance that hints at magical realism while playing like a glorified cable movie with a pretense to prestige as it leans on star-crossed love and at least two miracles that are easy to see coming through the dreamlike coastal mists of the Emerald Island. There's even a small role for singer Imelda May, by the way, in this movie. Okay, mostly we're supposed to root for young would-be scribe Nicholas, played by Fionn O'Shea, and free-spirited Isabel, played by Anne Skelly, to find one another in this attempt at audience wish fulfillment from director Polly Steele and screenwriter Niall Williams. It's pretty limp stuff. I can
Mhm.
imagine it might be enjoyable to watch at home, like a Hallmark movie, if that's your jam. Upscale Hallmark movie. It's in select theaters and available for streaming on demand right now. And let's just quickly wrap up the
I
movie
don't,
segment
I just
here.
want to tell you, I don't mind upscale Hallmark. That's all right with me.
Right, I figured I was talking to my audience here.
You are, you got her. She's right over here.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I think you'll probably you'll give it a couple of awes. Kim says three awes up for Four Letters of Love. Inspired by true events, Shoshana is the latest feature from director Michael Winterbottom. He's the guy who did The Trip with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. He did Welcome to Sarajevo, 24-Hour Party People. Great director. Shoshana focuses on a romantic liaison that starts during the late 1930s in Tel Aviv when Great Britain's military control of Palestine was increasingly undermined by conflict with Palestinian natives and Jewish settlers who were also attacking one another. The title character is a Polish Zionist immigrant whose love affair with an English police inspector in the occupying forces is jeopardized by her commitment to an Israeli state. So, even if it doesn't soar to great dramatic heights, and it does have its moments, it is quite tense throughout, and it serves as a very disturbing history lesson. And oh yeah, it's all too relevant as the Israeli-Palestinian struggle has been inflamed anew. It's in the news, and it was in the past, and Shoshana takes a very interesting look at it. Shoshana is in select theaters.
Okay. And what about what we can catch streaming this weekend?
Well, one quick note: I didn't review Happy Gilmore 2, and I won't review it. It's the latest Adam
What?
Sandler joint. I'm sorry. It debuted on
Why?
Netflix. It debuted on Netflix today. I just can't. I just can't. I will say though, I
Did you
do have
not
a
like Happy Gilmore 1? I mean, like, do you have it out for this movie? What's going on,
I
Snyder?
just think, the lowbrow, quote unquote humor of Adam Sandler does not always appeal to me. And this is clearly a cash grab. Let's revisit this character. No, I really don't want to revisit the character. I do have a recommendation, though.
Okay.
Amazon Prime Video, speaking of revisiting, revisits the Bosch-averse inhabited by Michael Connelly's ex-Los Angeles cop turned private investigator Harry Bosch, and they do so with Ballard, which follows Maggie Q's Bosch character, Detective Renee Ballard, as she leads the LAPD's new and department demeaned cold case division. They dump her off in the basement or some side rooms. It's kind of, it's sort of sad. Anyway, the setting is still contemporary Los Angeles with many familiar locations to those of us who spend time in the City of Angels. There's a really good supporting cast. The players include John Carroll Lynch as a jocular retired policeman brought into Renee's unit, and Titus Welliver as Bosch had to make an appearance or two over the course of the first season's 10 episodes. I love Maggie Q. I was on board with this. It's fun. It does set up a second season. Ballard is on Amazon Prime Video.
Okay. Yeah, I could watch that. Nice. Like it.
Good. I'm glad. I think it'll appeal to you. By the way, we haven't had time to talk about it, and we won't have time to talk in depth. But those of you who want a Marvel TV fix, Ironheart wrapped up on Disney Plus, and it's the first MCU project to focus on the teen genius inventor Riri Williams, who builds an Iron Man style battle suit. She's a savvy black girl from Chicago. The executive producer is Oscar winner Ryan Coogler, whose recent film Sinners is one of my favorite movies of the year. And it embroils Riri in local crime and some magical weirdness. And, it's lovely to see anything that Ryan Coogler, East Bay kid, and the filmmaker behind the Black Panther film and Sinners, get something out there, make some interesting and exciting film or TV. And Ironheart fits the bill in that regard. If you're going to wait for Fantastic Four First Steps to come to Disney Plus and you're impatient, you could check out Ironheart.
Okay. Quick recap. You said Fantastic Four First Steps. Great casting, great directing, great musical score as well. You called it fun, emotionally satisfying, and amusing. It's a yes from you. Fantastic Four First Steps.
Oh, Kim, and visually, oh my God. The art direction. I left humming the art direction, not the score.
Oh, hi. You said it's a delightful dip into dysfunction, and you really like this dark comedy. Again, that's Oh, hi. The Home, the freaky picture and all, doesn't really cut it. You said you give The Home a C-. Oh, barely passing.
At best.
Oh, better than a D+, at least you get to move on to The Home 2, I guess. Ick, all I'll say about this is that you called it entertaining. You liked it. You say yes to Ick.
It was genuinely funny, Kim. It really was.
Yeah, very good. Ick. It doesn't look funny from the poster, but I'll take your word for it. Four Letters of Love. You called it limp. You called it upscale Hallmark. It seemed to me that you thought this was something that wasn't really worth your time. Four Letters of Love.
I with those actors at the fore, I was expecting more. That's all.
I mean, Pierce Brosnan in a movie called Four Letters of Love. Sign me up. I'm already there. You also talked about Shoshana. I believe you would go see that at the movie theater. Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's solid. It's not a world beater, but it's so shockingly relevant today, considering what we're dealing with from the Middle East.
Streaming, you say Ballard, which is a Bosch spinoff, is fun. It's streaming on Amazon Prime, and you like this one. And Ironheart, you called that exciting as well. That's a thumbs up from Michael Snyder, Ironheart. That's on Disney Plus. And there you go.
That sounds it.
Love it. Are you going to any sports games this weekend? Any cultural moments for you happening this weekend?
Well, yes, I am in Los Angeles, so I won't be seeing my Giants face off against the New York Mets at Oracle Park, but I will be watching the stream tonight. And tomorrow, I'm kind of excited. Mr. Music Head Art Gallery, they specialize in rock photography, is doing what looks to be a very exciting exhibit, and it is called Stones in Exile. It's vintage photographs when the Rolling Stones in, I think, 1971, 72, for tax reasons, recorded their album, their crucial album, Exile on Main Street in the south of France. And it was apparently a constant orgy of drugs and sex. And it turned out to have been the crucible that made what people consider their best or one of their best albums. I can't wait to look at that. And I will be, of course, at the monthly Constellation Club at the Formosa Cafe on Saturday night, dancing to the space age sounds of Curtis Lindersmith, our DJ, who plumbs the depths of 60s and 70s deep cuts to get the dance floor rolling.
Michael Snyder, he comes and goes on a rainbow. Thanks, Michael Snyder.
You're welcome, Kim. See you next time.
Bye.